Hey everyone, welcome to the third episode of How to Win a Cash Cup, the series where we take a look at one of the Cash Cup winners and learn from their success. Enjoy. For this week, we'll be taking a look at ThomasHD, who won the solo Cash Cup on the EU region. Sadly, he didn't make it through to FNCS finals on the same day, but hopefully this was at least a tiny bit comforting for him. Now, let's take a look at his games. As you can probably see, Thomas didn't really win off consistency. Instead, he had some pop-off games that secured him first place. For this week, I wanted to review a really stacked game, because the last 2 weeks we mainly reviewed low to medium stacked games. Let's get into it. For his early game, he's contested by 2 other players, so what he decides to do is to land far away from both of them and let them fight. After looting up a bit, he finally decides to join the fight and actually gets the kill. For his mid-game, he actually bounces around in a cow trying to surprise players with a hard-hitting pump shot. In this case, he actually missed his pump, but decides to fight him anyways because it's going to be hard to disengage at this moment. During this fight, he actually gets hit pretty hard and has to play defensive after. But notice that his first instinct is to deal damage back. This way, he gets more time to actually get his heals off and disengage from the fight. For his second attempt, it actually works, and he gets a pretty free kill. Notice that he actually takes his time with his shot, makes sure to hit. He then spends his extra mats to make more boxes. When the third zone pops, he's actually inside of zone, but it's barely on the edge. So when this guy dies, he straight up instantly goes for the loot with his cow, but it's a little bit laggy. But then another guy shows up, and sorry for the replay lag, and then they kind of have to fight a bit, but it's not too interesting, this fight. They barely do anything. It's mainly just kind of taking walls without trying to kill the other person. It's more so to gain control of the loot. So eventually he gets a little bit of his brick back, so there we go, and now he's capped on mats again. The fourth zone is not very interesting. He's basically constantly looking through his cone, and as you can tell, his AR ammo is pretty low, so he only shoots when he feels like he can get the kill. He's not pressuring walls, he's not doing anything like that. But eventually he does get a kill this way. There we go. And now for the main event of the video, the endgame. As you can see, ThomasHD actually pops off in this endgame, and it's mainly because of a couple of reasons. First off, he decides to use a cow here instead of his launch pad. Now you might be wondering, well, why would you do that? This is pretty long distance, and what if someone shoots you, stuff like that. Well, in very stacked games, you are sometimes safer than in less stacked games because you have more eyes looking at other people as well. And this way, he actually saves his pad for the endgame, which becomes pretty valuable later on. Also, the cow can kind of get awkward in endgames where there's a lot of builds. So when he uses his cow here, as you can see, there's a lot of open space, so it's very, very quick compared to in an endgame where you kind of bounce around between a bunch of builds. Throughout this endgame, you can see that ThomasHD actually sets up on a really high layer constantly. I'll show you some more later, but it starts off in half and half out, where he's basically one of the highest players in this game. And now for the first moving zone, you could think, well, of course, now he's going to use his pad, right? Well, no, he just decides to cow again. A lot of open space and a lot of other people cowing. There's not really any risk here. If someone shoots him, he's fine. He can just chill and use his cow again. But notice that he goes up a couple times. So again, he's setting up on a fairly high layer. Sadly, this next part is bugged in replay, but it's a very important part. So I'm going to explain what happened, and then you guys can kind of understand it without actually seeing it. So first, he decides to shoot this FBI Shatter guy, and he instantly gets the kill because look at his health. It's like one shot to a headshot. And now I'll show what he does after. So as you can see, he's on the bottom left here. He gets the kill, and then let's see, wait for it. He uses a pad and sets up on a high layer all the way in front of zone. And this is exactly the same thing that we saw E13 doing last week, where he basically gets a kill, or he has decent mats, he has over 1,000, and he sets up on a high layer in front of zone. And as you can probably guess here, he is going to look for high ground. Basically the exact same thing E13 did last week. So it's a common thing we see Cash Cup winners do to win games. Later in the game, just get up on a high layer, have a lot of mats, and then start looking for high ground a bit. In this case, he actually notices that high ground is still pretty well established. He has a lot of hard mats and stuff, so instead of going for height, he just decides to cow again. After cowing for a third time, he again does the exact same thing where he lands on a fairly high layer ahead of zone, and this time he looks up again, and height is actually a lot more free this time. So notice that he didn't go for height the first time, he didn't go for height the second time, but he finally went for height once he notices, okay, he's on wood, and obviously you can't see the health of this player, but if you're on wood, you're probably kind of scuffed. He actually gets the kill and decides to go for the loot. At the very least, there's going to be some siphon mats and maybe some extra heals. The rest of the game is basically just ThomasHD pressuring players who are in wood, and this actually gets him quite a bit of kills. Not only is he pressuring players that are in wood, he also notices when someone is in a cone and gets a really free kill that way. Now, he doesn't instantly go for the loot, even though he could use it. He has 400 wood, so he's going to need some more mats. Gets the chug cannon as well, it's a very nice pickup. For one of his later kills, he actually notices a second chug cannon, plus some extra floppers. Once there's only one player left, which is Guild Hen, also a very good pro player, he doesn't have a lot of mats left over, so what he decides to do is he actually goes back into zone and decides to play heal off. So first he has his own chug cannon, and then he remembers the other chug cannon plus the floppers. But obviously Hen is not going to have it because Hen is going to need to get the kill. So ThomasHD also not only going for heal off, is also trying to be aware of the last player. So what have we learned? Well, the cow is really broken because you can surprise people with it, you can use it both in mid-game and in endgame, as well as kind of the same thing that E13 did last week, right? Make sure to stay ahead of zone and be on a high layer. What this allows you to do is you can take height more freely. Not only did he take height, but he took it after 3 times of checking. 3 separate zones, he checked for high ground, and he decided, nope, not good enough yet, nope, not good enough yet, and then the 3rd time, okay, yeah, let's go for it. So be patient, set yourself up for a good position, and take high ground that way. Alright guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know if you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you on Monday.